and welcome to this edition of IFI in Conversation With, our series of virtual discussions about our favorite subject, what else but the movies. My name is Dave O'Mahony. I'm Head of Cinema Programming at the Irish Film Institute. And today I'm delighted to be joined by none other than acting screen legend, Pierce Brosnan.
Please don't call.
Pierce, thank you so much for joining us today, and you're very welcome.
Thank you, David. It's lovely to be with you, and greetings from Berkshire, where you find me on location for a movie called Cinderella.
No doubt we'll be looking forward to that one. It's probably next year at this point, I would say. Pierce, as we're all making tentative steps as a nation coming out of this extraordinary period of lockdown, I just wanted to ask you, what were your viewing habits during those period of quarantine? Were you using the opportunity to maybe look at films you never got around to seeing before, or indulging in old favorites? What were your viewing habits?
My wife Keely and I, we live out there in the boonies and the wilds and the beauty of Kauai in the Hawaiian Islands. So we have a TV and we go on Apple, and I think the last batch of films we watched were John Travolta's movies.
Okay.
All his films, and enjoyed those enormously. And in celebration of his life and the passing of his lovely wife, yes. There. Yeah. So we had a good number of evenings watching John. But yes, and I went back to one of my favorites, the movie Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde was a significant movie for me as a young lad, growing up in South London. And it's
an extraordinary film. It's an extraordinary film. I read a book not so long ago. I think the writer's name is Mark Harris. It's called Pictures at a Revolution, and it takes the year that Bonnie and Clyde was nominated for Best Film and the other 5 films that were nominated with it. In the Heat of the Night, I think Guess Who's Coming to Dinner. I can't remember the other 2. And it just looks at those 5 films as Hollywood on a crossroads. I'd highly recommend the book if you stumble across it.
I will say the title again.
I think it's called Pictures at a Revolution, or some derivative of that.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, I mean, Bonnie and Clyde really inspired and spawned so many great filmmakers. It's referenced throughout, cinematic history, really. But the movies have played a big part in my life, obviously. I've been an actor now for a great number of years, and I don't know what else to do.
What's your earliest movie memory? Can you remember your first memories of going to the cinema?
Well, I grew up in Navan, County Meath, there on the banks of the Boyne, and there were two cinemas in town. There was the Palace and there was the Lyric, and the Palace was just across the bridge, over the bridge, and I would go there, and there was a staple of Old Mother Riley and Norman Wisdom and Cowboys and Indians, and so sorry. And there was one movie though that really caught me in the solar plexus, and that was The Defiant Ones with Tony Curtis and Sidney Poitier. I had never seen anything like it, and it just captured my imagination, seeing a black man and a white man shackled together. And of course, it has a certain relevance today, even in storytelling and what's happening in our society. But that was a significant one. I suppose another one would have been, when I left Ireland in '64 and reunited with my mother, and we went to the pictures, and it was James Bond Goldfinger. So thus began really my love of the movies. And so the ABC Putney High Street was a refuge for me and a sanctuary, and it was that, and Carry On movies. Barbara Windsor in a beautiful décolletage, hopping off all over the place, captivated me as much as the gold lady lying on the bed, all naked there now. But anyway, that's where a love of movies started. Clint Eastwood, I'd go to the pictures and I'd come out and hop on the bus and I would be Clint Eastwood in my mind. And, then of course it became more sophisticated, and especially when I discovered acting. I had a wonderful place called the Oval House Theatre down there in Kennington. And I was about 18. I was trying to be an artist, a painter. I got a job at 16 in a little place called Ravenna Studios, again in Putney. And basically I sat at this desk and I just drew straight lines and watered the spider plants and made cups of tea with a love of the movies. And, I found acting through the Oval House one winter's evening, and it spawned the actor I am now.
And even now, are there films that you always go back to? I mean, what are your favorite films? If, to be reductive, what are the films that have meant the most to you over the years?
Well, I don't necessarily go back to them. I go more to paintings now. I go to the artists that inspire me. And it's like I've seen behind the curtain of filmmaking, and I know what goes on. And I know a certain mystery about it and mystique about it, which I wish I didn't know. But
do you find it difficult to just indulge in a movie now, to just switch off your faculties?
No, not at all, really. I mean, I adore the movies, and there's nothing like watching a great film and wonderful performances. Brando, I would go to Brando. I'd go to De Niro. I go back to my classics where I started. You go back to Spencer Tracy and look at any Spencer Tracy movies. He was my granddad's favorite actor. And, we loved the pictures. We loved movies in Ireland. It was a huge staple of our lives.
Yeah. I remember Bad Day at Black Rock was one I grew up with, watching again and again with my father. He would always wait for the moment where Spencer Tracy puts manners on those guys in that bar, that scene. They pour something into a soup and it kicks off. That was a very early movie memory for me.
Yeah, that's right. Well, of course, then when I went to America, I played this character, Remington Steele, who was a detective, but he wasn't really a detective. He was just some movie buff who hung out in the cinema. He always solved the case by coming up with, Black Rock, Spencer Tracy, 1956, Tea and Sympathy, Deborah Carr. But it's such an exhilarating time, you have to accentuate the positive, and this time will pass for us all, and vaccination will be found, and a whole new breed of filmmakers, writers, artists will be born from these terrible times and troubled times. And
I do agree with you. I mean, we at the IFI have just opened our doors now for just a little over a week. And of course, we were filled with trepidation as to, will anybody ever want to come back to the movies, to be in an enclosed space? I know we have social distancing, but, glad to see that people are coming back, and we've had many sold out shows. Well, sold out such as it is nowadays, but even that for me is a strong sign of green shoots. So people are still happy to return as long as they feel safe. They're happy to return to the cinema, and that's for me, that's very gratifying.
It is. I mean, I don't. People talk about the cinema and the cinemas are closing, theaters are closing, but you have this beautiful new way of viewing and entertaining people on Zoom and on your phone. So you have to rise to the occasion and not be too moribund in despair about the movies and the plight of movies, because they will be made and the young filmmakers will be found and created.
And I'm never one to decry the rise of the online streaming platforms. I think they should all be able to exist in parallel. We should be able to, have cinema will always endure and always remain, but we can have films on other platforms as well. I think it's more positive that work is being made. That's really the key thing, I
Well,
think. Yeah.
yes, I mean, I'm here. This film that I'm doing, Cinderella, we started it in March. It's a big production. It's Sony Films. It's a young rising star, Camila Cabello and Edna Menzel, and so it's a young cast, and it has a relevancy. This portrayal of Cinderella coming out of the Me Too movement, and so that's a big film. But the next film I'm going to make is going to be up there in Belfast, and it's a film directed by Terry Lone. It's called The Last Rifleman. I believe I can speak of it because it was just announced yesterday.
Okay. Let us know.
It's going to be interesting to see how we make that film. Because, Sony, this film, we go to work every day and we get tested every day. We as soon as you go to work, the window goes down, temperature, swab in the mouth, around the nose. That costs a lot of money. So I hope the same can be done when we go to Ireland, protecting everyone's safety.
And Pierce, can I ask you, is there a figure, it can be director, actor, writer, whomever, who you love, who you've always championed, but you feel has been underappreciated, someone that has never gotten their due? Is there somebody that you'd like to shine a light on?
Oh, heavens. I don't know. I can't think of anyone really shining a light on. I mean, the ones I think of have all had the light shined on them brilliantly, so because they're deeply talented and gifted. There you go. Shine the light on myself.
Okay, let's just answer the question.
Let's go back. At that, now you can see.
As I mentioned, we at the IFI are tentatively opening our doors, welcoming people back in. Do you have any IFI memories or experiences yourself that you'd like to share today? Any screenings that come to mind, or possibly a Q&A that you remember?
Oh, not really. Nothing comes to mind, I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
Really. I've always been greatly appreciated by you and celebrated by you. Getting my award from you was magnificent. The Irish Oscar there.
Great, indeed. And Pierce, before I leave you go and get back to making Cinderella.
This ring on, for God's sake! Look at that.
It's quite dazzling, actually. Yes, it's quite.
Well, that's it.
You seem to have a lighting rig there that I am without.
Well, the studio sent this to me. I was promoting this film Eurovision there a few months ago, and they sent out to everyone these little rings that you have, and they do make a big difference. You can buy yourself one and shine the light on yourself here, David.
I'm feeling somewhat inadequate here with my cobbled together lighting rig that will have to suffice. Pierce, before I leave you go, do you have a favorite Irish film? You have to name one.
A favorite Irish film? In the Name of the Father.
Okay. Yeah.
Name of the Father. The Field. The Commitments.
Brilliant film. Yeah. Wonderful.
God, and the films that I've made, I love so. I mean, I named the company Irish Dreamtime with my late partner, Beau Marie St. Clair. And, after the success of James Bond all those years ago, GoldenEye, and, that it looked like I was going to have some career playing Bond. I formed a wee company called Irish Dreamtime, and Beau Marie St. Clair and I went off and we made our first film called The Nephew, with Ono McCann. And then we went on and, Thomas Crown and The Matador, but we kept going back to Ireland. So Ireland keeps pulling me back and will forever pull me back, because that's where it all starts, and that's the soul and the heart you fly under. So as an actor.
And you'll be filming there, you mentioned, soon enough.
I'll be filming, yes. There's 2 films that, in these months of last 5 months, I've developed about 10 projects, all at different levels, and 2 of them are going to be filmed in Ireland.
That's fascinating. So a lot of projects came together during the months of quarantine.
They did, yes. It gave you time to reset. It gave you time to rethink, investigate, and it's a much slower pace, and to Zoom with people. And, I have a producing partner now who's a wonderful woman, and she and I have, acquired properties. So there's work to be made and work to be done.
Yeah, I agree. I think this opportunity to pause and reset. I know it's been a horrific time for
Yes.
internationally, but I'm determinedly positive that good things can come with this opportunity to reflect and stop and look at things anew, look at processes anew. I think it's valuable. I mean, we never have an opportunity to rethink how we're doing things. So
when you're dealing with dying and death and the loss of loved ones, there's a mourning. We're all in mourning. We're in mourning for a life that just flipped on a dime there 6 months ago. And, out of that can come great happiness and joy, and how to reinvent yourself and be positive about life, and, find the good leaders of life, the men that you can trust, the women you can trust to, take us to higher ground, so to speak.
Indeed.
Indeed.
Pierce,
All right.
it's been wonderful talking to you today, and maybe sometime we'll see you at the IFI in future when the clouds clear a little more. We'll see you back in Dublin at the IFI, hopefully.
That will be lovely. I look forward to meeting you all then. Thanks for everything. Thanks a million.
Thank you. Best of luck with the filming. Take care.
God bless. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.